What's up, YouTube? Back with another Corvette installation video for you. Here's the old baby I'm sure you recognize by now if you've watched my last two videos, which nobody has, but let's hope you did. And today we're going to be doing something pretty fun. Level 5 installation. The other two I did were level 1, so are we ready for that? Who knows? So here's the plan stand from Mid America Motorworks. As usual, I ordered the door handle puddle kit plus Footwell kit. These two work together, even though they came separate, but they didn't. They were tied together. So one plugs into the other. They make our lives easier. Installation instructions are online as usual, which is again why I order from this place, because they tell you how to install it, and that's nice. So basically what this is going to cover, you can see our lovely yellow interior lighting from the map light, which we did last time. So this is going to cover this footwell area, which is a nice bright white right now. We're going to turn that yellow. So we'll put an LED strip along there. Then underneath the door here, strip's going to go right along here. It's going to create a flood of yellow light when the door opens down there. And then the last piece of the puzzle is a small LED strip of about 3 lights that goes right in here. And so we're going to, each of those adheres with 3M. We're going to run the wiring down through here and through some real hoops, I think, back in this area. But we'll figure it out. So let's get started. Here's a quick peek at the precious car in case you forgot. Our 2019 Z06. Alright, just a quick overview of what we got in here and some of the tools we'll be using. Not too many, hopefully. Diagram about wiring, how this is going to tap into what we have there. I think that may only apply for the other versions of the kit, actually. But we'll see. Alcohol prep pads, as usual. Adhesion promoter. And then the good stuff. Theoretically, these plug right into the factory connectors, so that part should be pretty straightforward, but one step at a time. So 2 separate links. Here we go. So each of these is the Footwell LED strip. These ends are going to plug into the car over here, where we pull out the standard LEDs, or standard lights down there. Then in the middle of this, they've got little connectors kind of joined in there, fused in, whatever the term is. That's where we'll plug in our door handle kit, I believe. That'll come down through the siding. And 2 strips of about, I don't know, 9 to 10 inches, something like that. I also brought some froggy tape for covering up the adhesion promoter lines. So they recommend you can tape these sections off if you want. We're just going to do a little strip of this product anywhere we're going to use 3M film. Microfiber cloth, because, you know, always. And a little bit of rubbing alcohol, so help us clean up any surfaces we're getting here too. Easy peasy. So a lot of these are going to be wacky angles. I mean, I'd be able to show you the camera right as I'm working on them, but I'll try and show you what I'm doing before I'm doing, at least. So we're in the driver's side footwell right now. First instruction is to take off this panel, which houses that existing light. And I don't know if it's going to focus for you, but there's 2 little, little pins holding that in. So we're going to use a panel remover tool to pull out those pins and hopefully get that panel off. All right, those suckers were really in there, but got two of these little plastic guys out there, and this panel comes free. Ta-da. Not sure what that nice backing is, but I approve. And while we're down here, just FYI, if you're pulling this panel off, there is actually a third fastener in the back there. I'm on the far right side right now, so I'm gonna leave that on just because it should make putting this panel back in the right spot easier later. And now you can see on the back of this panel, that should be our factory light. That's where we're gonna plug in the new strip. And instructions are to rotate that out counterclockwise, I believe, to get it out of the factory, out of the housing. So that came out super easy. That was nice. It was just sitting in here like this. Quick rotation, a little wiggling around, and it comes free. Was facing down like this, just so we have our orientation in mind, although it may not matter with the strip. And they recommend to get this light free of the clip, we push in, I believe, on this little clip right here with a pointy object. That was nice and straightforward too. Basically, you just, on this guy, push this little pin in, and that, see from the side there, pops that free and allows you to pull off this factory light here. Right there. And now we may as well go ahead and test it just for functionality. You see the clip on our new light strip here. Looks inside the same as the one they gave from the factory, more or less. Let's see if we can get this guy to light up just by plugging it in. And then the magic will it work moment. Hey, that's progress if you ask me. Beautiful. All right, we don't want to leave it dangling there, so let's mount it, shall we? So next up is to mount this plate, put this plate back in, which should be very straightforward. We're just going to punch those two little plastic screw shaped things back into where they were with this mounted up flush in the right spot. Just lining these holes with underlying gaps there. Since the next part of this involves rubbing alcohol and all that primer or adhesive promoter stuff and everything, I'm gonna try and pull off and replace the second one and get that second strip ready too, just so we can reuse those materials without them drying up first. Okay. Second panel, passenger side is open now. You can see in the back we got our light there. So hopefully this will just wiggle out. There we go. I get a little less slack on this guy, but we'll make do. There we go. So I'll swap that out with the strip, and then we'll get to installing them. All right, got this one installed. Now, if I had one tiny complaint about those instructions, it's that some of the photos are a little low res, so it's hard to tell what they're indicating, but I believe they were suggesting to place this strip starting right at the front of that panel we removed. Kind of from this edge over. And it is about the length to end up at this corner of the panel. So I think that's the recommendation. And right at the front. I'm not going to bother with masking tape on this because I have the guidance of the front of the panel as my indicator for how much adhesive promoter to apply. So I'm going to go ahead and just clean off this surface and apply some promoter along the front, whatever, 1/4 inch or less. And same thing on the driver's side where it's recommended to be applied. I went a little bit extra with the adhesion promoter just because it looks like it's pretty unoffensive stuff, so just coated the front section of each of those panels.
We're supposed to wait for a couple minutes for it to get tacky and then install the strips within an hour, and I don't plan to wait a full hour for that. So, fair warning, these guys are pretty sticky. Once I pulled off the driver's side and tried to put it on and scoot it, that was not really possible to scoot it, so I think it came out fine, but this is the passenger side anyway. We've got our connectors there for the door pieces that are coming in, and the driver's side. So it's mounted right at the front of that panel. I don't know if that's gonna hold or if that's gonna matter. Should be fine.
Alright, I got ahead of myself a little and I used the remaining alcohol pad from the Footwell kit to wipe down the spot in the door handles and underneath the door where we're going to be installing the other kits. So we'll just do a quick unwrapping of that one. So same thing, alcohol prep pads, adhesion promoter. You get about 6 twisty ties, I guess. 2 little ones, 4 big ones, and these coiled up. And so these are two chains of like 3, and then however many go, I think 15 along the bottom. And then these connectors at the very end should just plug right into what we installed in the Footwell. So routing the wires is going to be the tricky bit next, but we'll go ahead and start with adhering the driver's side and passenger side, just because I'll have the adhesion stuff out anyway, so I'll start with both sides of that. Alright, got some adhesion promoter applied. Here's one more look at the light. It's a little bit spread out just so you can see what's going on. So again, our connectors for the Footwell. This is a section for along the bottom of the door, and then section for on the door panel itself, on the right next to the handle.
All right, so driver's side, we're gonna peel off our adhesive backing. Stick her right in place there. Then they recommend to start hiding the wires through the weather stripping, whatever it is. So I guess we'll have that little bit of it black exposed there, unless we want to put a little electric tape over it or something. That's how we'll start running the wires down there. Hoping to get this part up here to stay as flat as possible, just because I don't want to be bumping it when I touch the door handle. That's not the classiest of everything that could be. Forgot my trusty electrical tape. They recommend taping the wires up on the bottom of here, so I'll show you where I've stuck them in there. They recommend using these rivets as a guide to center it, so got that running along there. I'm just going to tape up these sections of the red wire here, as they recommend. In the words of Anchorman, milk was a bad choice. Electrical tape was probably a bad choice. I don't know if it's sturdy enough, so I put a couple pieces on, but I may have to come back to that after a couple car washes, and I have a feeling it may be gone by that point. So I'll try and research something a little more suitable for automotive use. Okay, so I'm rounding this up behind the weather stripping there. They mentioned there's a small pin holding the weather stripping in place. believe it is. You can see that right there. I think that's what's holding it in. So they recommend routing the wire over the top of that and then pushing it back in. So I'm just gonna try and pull the stripping off and hopefully not tear anything. There we go, got that loose. So you can see right there, it's just a little 2-edge kind of blue pin. You can pull this stripping off if you're careful, one side and then the other. So I'm gonna pull the connectors through this side and over the top of that little nub. Alright, so the wire is routed nicely over that little pin in there. I don't know if I actually had to pull it out, but I did pull it out, routed it around, pushed it back in, and now we're supposed to put the wire back on the other side of the stripping, and then supposed to run this behind this boot. They give you a few wire ties. You know what those look like. So I'm gonna use one on probably each side of this, and I might try and tape down this top bit of tape just for fun. Yeah. Okay, we have our cable routed behind the little boot here, whatever it's called. So I taped back the left side of that. You can't even see it from this angle. And I used 2 twisty ties, one here and one here, to hide that red wire behind that little section. Next, they're asking us to remove the door trim, or the, door trim, starting here. I think we're gonna have to bring this whole panel off, hopefully to figure out the way to pass those wires through into the cabin. So I did get this removed. Unfortunately, when I was pulling off these panels, it looks like it might have cracked a tiny bit there. I don't know if that was really avoidable or not, but got that panel sitting on the bottom section here. And then this was the bottom of that, so they kind of just clipped together, but I don't know if that's avoidable when you take it apart, but bummer town, oh well. Okay, looking at the inside of the car, this is behind the door panel that we just pulled out, and they suggest, I believe, looking for this wiring harness, and they say follow it up with your hand inside the car and push on a little plastic lever cap. That's supposed to pop out something in this door area, so you gotta have tiny hands for that, but look at that. So you can see it. Yeah, it's a miracle. They weren't kidding. Alrighty, so the goal now, we got this little cover off here, is to run our wires right over the top of this purple thing and grab them from the inside. And they claim they should fit one at a time horizontally. It's a tight spot, but that's how we get them into the car. Huzzah! So I just plugged in those connectors that I wired through that little hatch between the door and the car. Plugged them into the connectors on the Footwell light, and we are in business. We got our handle lights, puddle lights, and Footwell lights. So time to put the trim back on the door, I believe, and then passenger side. Okie dokie, quick look at what we've got on the right side of the car now. So got that adhered there. Ran the wire down through the weather stripping behind it as usual, or as on the other side. Tried to tie that down with tape, maybe unsuccessfully. And the wire's up through there. So we gotta do the same little magic trick over here. Flip it over that pin, pass it behind the little boot or whatever it's called, and then there's one more panel I think we have to take out on this side. This side, probably this guy, in order to reach that cable pass through. So that's next. All right, passenger side is done. Looking hot. So I had to pull out the side panel again and loosen a couple of the fasteners on this guy to reach up into there, feed the wires through. Definitely can't tell where they are now, except for that guy. I'll adjust that in a minute. But got the LED handles, floodlight, puddle light I mean, and the footwells. Looking very sharp. Probably take one more picture at night just to really see her glow. Thanks for watching. Couldn't help but take one more show off video of this new setup. I think that is super hot. If I had a little quick post-mortem on the installation, 2 minor complaints, really minor. One is that the yellow map light tinting kit I installed isn't really the same yellow as the Footwell, but I can see how it'd be really hard to get those two to match perfectly. And then the only other real issue I ran into, the directions are helpful. You really just need to be patient, like they say. And then they have a bunch of photos that don't make sense until you actually get in the car and then you look and that matches what you're seeing. So they did a good job on those instructions. The only other bummer here was this piece of trim here that kind of cracked as I was pulling it out. So don't know if I needed to get that trim completely removed or not. I can look up online maybe and see how much it costs to replace, but probably not worth it. I don't think anybody's gonna notice just a little extra line there. So, but yes, I am definitely a fan. Thank you, Mid America Motorworks, for the kit. And we got another trunk one coming up before too long, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and pop me a question or a comment in the comments below if you want to know anything about the install or have some thoughts on how you like the look. Thank you.